All right, we're back. Tasty Crypto Show. I'm Ryan Grace. With me today, of course, Shelly Van in the house. Shelly, what's going on?
Hi, Ryan. All-time highs.
Yeah.
It is up October.
It is.
So this is exciting.
You think it continues, or did we, use all of our ammo? I was going to say something else that's probably inappropriate. Did we, fire all our shots here within the first week? What do you think?
No, it keeps going.
Where do you think it goes to? New all-time highs. I mean, you got the sky's the limit, I suppose.
Sky's the limit. I'm just very, very excited because my very trenchy wallet is looking nice.
Okay.
First time in a long time.
Altcoin season soon, maybe?
For me, I'm like, it's here.
For anybody that's not familiar, can you explain what you mean by trenchy wallet?
Trenchy wallet.
I like that. I've never heard that before. I've heard, in the trenches referring to just trading meme coins and the volatility that you have to be able to stomach there. But yeah, I guess maybe more so what's in your trenchy wallet?
Okay, so I never really gave up on the AI agent tokens. Remember when we were dabbling with those? Like
AI16Z, some of the others.
Virtuals.
AI XBT is still on X, is always posting content.
I just had a nice trade on Tibber, Tibbr, I think.
Okay.
That's a virtuals agent. And virtuals, we should do a whole show on that again, maybe on Beans on Friday, because they have a whole new ecosystem. I don't know if you're still messing around over there.
I haven't looked at it in a while. I think I probably have some, maybe we'll refer to them as residual investments. They become positions, they start as trades. I think I've got something somewhere in a wallet, not of any meaningful size, but I will have to take a look because that was a platform for launching these agents, right? Mm-hmm. Or launching the tokens that represent the agents.
Yep.
What are they doing now that's kind of evolved?
So if you stake virtual token, you will earn these points that you can then, I can't remember the word, but you can basically attribute them to up-and-coming agents that you think are viable.
Okay, almost like a vote or something?
Kind of.
Okay.
And then if they do take off, you get allocated some of the token. But it's very community, it's super community focused, and I don't know, I've just been having a good old time playing around with them.
Awesome.
And then Dan and I called Punk Strategy at a penny.
It was a good one.
Hit 32 cents this weekend.
Wow. Okay.
A penny to 32 cents.
Does it keep going?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's dipping now, so I'm buying that dip.
So I was going to ask, are you taking profits? You buying the dip? What are you doing here?
Buying the dip.
Awesome. That's a hell of a trade. Yeah. No, seriously, congratulations, because not often do you get in at that level and then you see the explosion. It does happen, obviously, and we see it at times on X and elsewhere, but nice trade.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, let's jump into the show, Shelly. Let's talk a little bit more about the all-time high in Bitcoin, maybe what's behind it, whether or not this keeps going. And the theme of today's show, which I like what you appropriately titled it here, Bitcoin's gold moment. And we're going to tie that together as it pertains to kind of what we're seeing in maybe more of the macro economy with the backdrop there, what's supporting markets, what we're seeing as well with commodities, and this bid into kind of inflation proxies and why maybe gold should be higher. Who knows? I know a lot of people are kind of looking at this move and saying, all right, it's going to reverse at some point. It hasn't yet. Maybe it will. Or maybe, why maybe Bitcoin will catch up to this here and you could see a broadening of, of this rally. But let's talk a little bit about that and kind of what is behind some of what we're seeing here. Before we do, though, we got to throw up the dancing cat.
I have to have dancing cat.
You have a cat? You have a dog? Any animals?
I had a cat, a tuxedo cat, and he lived forever.
Too long, maybe?
Maybe a little. Because it was our lives were moving on, and it was okay, we have to rehome him now because this is the kids are leaving for college, and this cat just won't die. He's in his 20s.
I was going to say, or ask you, about 20 or so, because I think that's the age where it's we love him, but we didn't think he was going to be 23.
Right. It's time.
Yeah, slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, it was tough. Very sad.
Well, what was your cat's name?
Stewie.
Rest in peace, Stewie. Thank you. Bitcoin all-time high. Also, I forgot to mention, but I think everybody knows by now, if you're not streaming over on the Tasty Live YouTube channel, get over there, type some crazy shit into the chat. Join us. Grumpy Mike, Gary, Nancy, Jose, gang's all here. Gary had a fish once.
How long did that fish live?
Sometimes they live a lot longer than you might think. You know, goldfish from the carnival 2 years later, going strong.
Wow. Speaking from experience.
Oh, I mean, I'm just saying that could happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Bitcoin all-time high. Bitcoin crossed 126. I don't know exactly where we are now. Somewhere around there, near all-time highs. Put it in a new all-time high at that point in time. Look, I mean, it's the ETF flows that are very supportive of the asset at this price, right? I mean, it kind of look at this and say, oh, well, obviously, but not always. And that wasn't necessarily the case in the past. Sometimes you just get these auto liquidations. They amplify volatility one way or the other, and it takes you to some prices that maybe you don't stay at. But I think here, you know, you kind of look at this and say, is it real flows? Is it real money that's driving it? And I would argue that yes, it is. Let's just jump over to spot Bitcoin ETF total net flows and ETH total net flows, which have picked up a little bit as well. Shelly, here's the last month of Bitcoin ETF flows, and pretty consistently getting, you know, on those big up days, 500,000 in, $500 million in, $1 billion in, and hitting some bigger numbers on the ETH side too.
You must be excited about ETH.
I'm feeling pretty good, but you know, that's not yet at an all-time high. I do think you get there. I've got a price on the screen here of 46.84 in Tasty Trade, up about 3.5% today, but you need to see that at 5,000 plus for it to be a new all-time high. So Bitcoin leading the way. I do think others catch up. I think ETH will be one of them. But you're definitely seeing the ongoing institutional adoption, and you have been for some time with Bitcoin, certainly seeing it with ETH. It's possible that we get the approvals for Solana, XRP, even Polygon ETFs.
Strange one.
Yeah, there's a lot of ETF filings kind of out there. Now, the government, as everybody knows, has been shut down, hopefully temporarily. Most people would assume temporarily. You can go to Polymarket and see what the odds are for when we open back up. So the SEC is kind of on pause here, but there was a change, I believe, made last month that should expedite possible approval processes for commodity ETFs, and digital assets certainly fall within that segment. And so you could see a lot more in the future. I'm not saying it's coming, you know, immediately, but there might be a quicker path or speed to market for some of these products going forward, which I think, again, just induces more or incites more capital inflows into some of these other tokens. But probably Solana is the next big one, I would think.
I think so too.
Did you see that? I think it was Grayscale. Yeah, Grayscale Trust and the exchange traded product there, ETF, is now. And like, I was confused about this. I don't know if you saw any details. I thought it required SEC approval, or maybe however they're doing it. Maybe they're just going forward. I don't know. Maybe there are no rules anymore. But they are staking the ETH, some of it, in some capacity, and will be passing those staking rewards on in the form of a yield or a dividend, I would assume.
That's huge.
Because I think others would follow suit, right?
Right.
So hopefully, I guess for anybody like myself that's got a little bit of an ETH bag, you get that, and that just brings more participation. I talk about it like it's just greater fool theory. Like, hopefully I can sell it to somebody else higher, you know?
Can we just give my dad a shout out? He's officially...
Yeah, let's shout out your dad. Is he watching? Is he in the chat?
Probably not, but...
Is your dad Gary?
No.
Okay, no.
Dave. Dave is my dad.
Dave's your dad, okay. Gotta get him in the chat.
But he is officially a Tasty Trader as of today. I got him all set up with his account, and he funded it. And he's like, you might have heard, he called me today. He's like, I got my account funded.
Oh, I didn't know that. No.
So game on.
Okay.
Dad is in Tasty Trade.
Yeah.
And he wants to get in on crypto specifically. So
Beautiful.
I was like,
okay.
Yes.
Welcome to the pirate ship, Dave.
Yep. So we're here.
Riding off into the
Calling
sunset.
tops. My dad's in.
Yeah, do with that what you will, right? Maybe that's some alpha. Shelly's dad is getting into crypto. All right, ETF. So ETF flows are supportive for sure. Again, you want to see this continue. Obviously, you're going to get those outflows. You saw that a little bit when we dipped earlier in September, a month ago or so. But to start the month, I mean, end of September, as you can see here on the screen, big moves to the upside, $1 billion inflows. And when you look at this in aggregate, right, so we're looking at day after day. So you get $500 million, $500 million, 750, $1 billion. Next thing you know, you got $6 billion in new money that's gone into the ETF. So that definitely can help to take you to new all-time highs. But I want to talk a little bit more about maybe the reason behind some of these capital flows, right? Why are investors making the decisions that they're making? And I think a lot of this has to do with the macro backdrop. And so what do we mean by that? Well, look outside of crypto for a second, and you have many other assets, the S&P 500 putting in all-time highs, gold putting in all-time highs. And on the other side of that, you've had a weakening dollar up until recently. You know, little bit of strength. Maybe that dollar move, for the most part, short term is over. We'll see. But global liquidity has been pretty ample. You have interest rate expectations that are falling, not just here in the U.S., but globally, maybe more, or most importantly, with the Fed, and arguably a Fed that is cutting interest rates into an environment that seems, at least given kind of the nowcast, the forecasts that do exist, seems like it's pretty supportive, which, for what it's worth, I don't think we've seen this since maybe 1998, where you had very supportive monetary conditions into an economy that wasn't necessarily falling apart, right? Most of the time, we're seeing emergency interest rate cuts, we're seeing loose monetary policy to support a slowing economy. And, you know, you're seeing some signs that maybe consumers are in trouble in some cases. You know, a couple red flags are out there, but generally speaking, at least what we know today, you know, it doesn't really seem like we're in kind of a recession necessarily. So cutting rates into a expansion, possibly, could be a very big thing for asset prices, and maybe they continue to bubble higher, and eventually that does end. But I don't think it's today. It doesn't seem to be when you're hitting new all-time highs. We'll see. So I want to look at, you know, the market a little bit more closely here and kind of jump around, because I believe that, you know, what we are seeing is true, and that you are moving into an environment where not just in the U.S. but globally supportive of asset prices. That can change, and we'll update everyone when we start to see any signals or signs of that. But one thing that I think is interesting to look at, and then we'll jump into the performance dashboard. But Shelly, I wanted to look at today, you know, the correlations are one thing, and there's not anything that has a really strong positive correlation here. But when you look at kind of the broadening rally in commodities, that should in itself be a sign of, you know, relatively robust economic growth. You're starting to see a bid into assets that'll, I don't want to say necessarily like give you a hedge as it relates to inflation, but more so it's like, all right, this stuff's going up. How do you participate? Right, and so we go from S&P's at an all-time high, gold, silver's trading better, and now we're starting to see platinum trade much better, or has been, you know, over the last few months. Copper starting to participate. The outlier here is probably, when you look at the energy complex, is still crude oil and natural gas, but trading better, possibly bottoming. Starting to see a little bit more strength in natural gas here recently than we're seeing in crude oil. But I think this is important to pay attention to. So on one hand, we have 15 and 30-day correlations, which, if we just use the S&P 500, for example, you look back over a multi-year period and you can look at these, you know, short-term, 15 days, 30 days. A lot of times we like to look at a 90-day rolling period. And, you know, the highest or strongest correlation in there is around like 60%, 0.6, maybe a little bit higher. On average, we kind of see a correlation of about 0.4. Okay. So a little bit below there, and in the last 30 days, really no correlation. I don't read into this too much, other than we observe it at times. On the flip side, you have an inverse correlation right now with platinum and silver between Bitcoin. But what's interesting to me outside of those correlations is just look at the performance of equities, look at the performance of gold, silver, platinum, copper, maybe a little bit of strength. We'll keep our eye on crude oil. But I would assume, and somebody goes, I think it was my dad told me, it's like, oh, you make an ass out of you and me when you assume, right? That's the saying. Mm-hmm. But presumably, if we see a broadening in commodities, we see equities and risk assets continue to trade higher, and just because they have in the past doesn't mean that they continue to or that they will. But if we do see that, I think crypto does the same thing. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I mean, I do not have the macro mind that you do, so I just agree with you by default. Because Chat, he talks like this all the time, and I'm like, running to catch up. And yeah, it's slowly, after about a year, Ryan, making sense to me.
Okay, well, that's good. Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, it took me a long time, and I think maybe more so, a lot of mistakes that I learned from to kind of understand, at least high level, what some of the drivers are here. Mm-hmm. And it does not mean that when we see gold up 30% or 20%, silver up 30% in the last quarter, that crypto is going to do the same thing. And when we look at short-term correlations, they're not even moving in the same direction on a day-to-day basis. 27% of the time, silver has been moving in the opposite direction and Bitcoin in the opposite direction over the last few weeks. So just because gold goes up doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going to go up, obviously. But I think when you have an environment in which asset prices are bid, things are expanding, earnings are decent, S&P's at an all-time high, you're starting to see, allocations into commodity investments, start to see capital flow into these other areas of the market. It doesn't reflect a slowdown, right? I don't think that we would see industrial metals and crude oil and other energy investments do well. And I think you got to look outside of just the commodity here. You look at like XLE as an energy sector ETF or XOP, OIH. You can do the same thing with some of the natural gas companies. But when you look outside and you see all of this starting to do well, you see sectors of the equity market that are outperforming that typically would historically in times of economic expansion. It should be a signal. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at Bitcoin as a risk asset and knowing that it's typically positively correlated to everything else I'm describing, I think it gives you some degree of confidence that, when you're looking at all-time highs, you're wondering, is this going to continue or are others going to play catch-up? I think we're in a good environment for crypto, and I think we'll remain in that for some time. And if you start to see this all trade a lot differently, then you're going to have to question that assumption. But for now, again, it's like there are real reasons as to why, given what's going on in the economy and kind of some of the strength that we're seeing, why you might want to be long. Not just crypto, but assets in general here.
Right. Money printer go burr.
It seems that way, right? And those interest rate expectations, which you can check out over on the CME's FedWatch tool, I'll give you the probability based on the Fed funds futures of what the market is pricing in terms of the probability of a cut or no change or even a hike in some cases, but we're obviously not in an interest rate hiking cycle. We're in a cutting cycle. But, you can keep an eye on those, and they seem to indicate, well, they can change that, we get 2 more cuts this year in an environment where if, the bottom doesn't fall out here in terms of growth, which it doesn't look like that today, you could see, a little bit more fuel on the fire. You could see things go higher. You could see S&P 7,000. I don't think that's out of the question. You could see Bitcoin, arbitrarily probably trade up closer to 150.
Is that your price prediction?
Not a prediction necessarily, but I just think look, you've taken out this all-time high. Market will kind of test some of these bigger numbers. Who really wants to sit in front of this, right? There will be pullbacks at time, and I don't know, maybe it gets up to name your arbitrary price and pulls back to 100,000 or whatever it might be. There's going to be great trades to be had on both sides, and there have been, even if you look at the past few months, if you were able to time a short in there and cover it, you've had some decent ranges that you've been able to trade. But I think if you just look at, okay, arbitrarily, we like these big round numbers, probably make a move towards 150. That's what I would be looking for, right? Doesn't mean it gets there, but how does it trade up into that if it does go there? Maybe it pulls back from here, but we've got to watch the price.
Love that.
And I think the other thing that you want to look at too is whether or not you have an expansion in implied volatility. We know that there's typically a positive correlation between volatility and price, meaning that as price moves higher, volatility expands. That's usually the opposite in the equity market, as everybody knows. When prices go down, volatility goes up. Things are a lot more volatile to the downside. Take the stairs up, elevator down, that sort of thing. It's the opposite in crypto. Take the elevator up or the rocket in some cases. And so if you see that expanding or expansion in volatility and prices move higher, I think that's a positive signal. But again, something to keep an eye on. So outside of, and let's jump to our performance dashboard here, Shelly.
Green on the screen.
A lot of green on the screen. I've got Bitcoin at 124.9, so right around where we were at 10:30 this morning. So these are the slides that we used on Options Trading Concepts Live. ETH is, right about the same price, 46.80. So pulled back from where we were just about an hour ago. I think ETH's about $100 lower, but pretty positive price momentum here. Slightly higher levels of volatility from where we were at, a week ago or so. But outside of Bitcoin, outside of ETH, Solana, relative underperformer here year to date. So the way that I would read this is Bitcoin's up 34% year to date. ETH against that is up 6%. So at the time, ETH up 40% year to date. Solana down versus Bitcoin. So still on its own up, positive territory year to date, but less than 34%.
Interesting. Okay.
25% if my math's correct. Putting it down versus Bitcoin, 9%. But what else are you focused on? You mentioned some of the stuff in your trenches bag, some of the AI agents that you're trading. Any other areas of the market that you've got your eye on? Or are you just riding off into the sunset after this this punks call? Okay.
Not quite yet. Although punk strategy is fascinating. I love what that's doing for just overall the industry. Like Web3, NFTs, just the community. It's breathing a lot of fresh air into some sleeping giants, if you will. And I see Gary mentioning the TC token. Dan's out of town this week, so we're not doing anything with TC this week, but next week we will be. And I just got off of a very exciting call that I can't talk about. So I was like, can't say anything, but there's going to be some cool stuff coming to TC. So, yeah, otherwise, I'm trying to think what other tokens I've been playing with. Really just looking at those virtuals, AI agents.
Well, can I ask you this? You don't have to tell us size, of course, but what is your biggest position?
Biggest position?
Yeah, what's your biggest bet here? Where do you have the most conviction around that you put, put your money where your mouth is?
Hyperfi.
Hyperfi, okay.
Yep.
Not Hyperliquid, Hyperfi.
Yeah,
Two separate
Hyperfi.
things.
Very, very different. I've been in Hyperfi for years, but they only launched the token last year, and I still hold a very big bag and bought more.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a metaverse play in a sense, right?
Yeah, it's so much bigger than that because it's almost like they took the on-chain component kind of out of it, and it's more about 3D websites. Like if you have a server, you can launch your own 3D website using AI. It's like prompting 3D building, which is revolutionary to that space.
Yeah, that's huge versus having to know how to code all of that yourself.
Code and render in 3D modeling. Like you can just say, prompt, build me a carousel, and it will be a working 3D model in a virtual space. So if you want a 3D website, fully immersive, like jump in, walk around your website. I mean, it's huge.
It's cool. Yeah.
It's so cool.
I mean, my argument is probably, in my opinion, that not Hyperfi necessarily, but when I look at the whole space, it's still early.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the direction it's going in, The metaverse, really, what is that? I think a lot of times people think of that as like a game. You're inside of it's completely immersive virtual world, which if you have the VR headset and that's how you experience websites, you're at the store, you're able to try on the clothes, you see what you look like digitally versus going to the brick and mortar store. I think there's going to definitely be more of these experiences. It's probably hard to, I'm just making up something, but it's hard to pin it down. But I think that's the direction that it's going in, right?
Oh, yeah. And see, with Hyperfi, they really, and I should just say it's one guy building this like incredible tool. It's like the WordPress for 3D building.
Okay, that's a great way to describe it.
And so, but he, excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my throat. He's making it so that anybody can do this, plug and play. It's mobile friendly, VR friendly, and desktop, whatever. It's like all device friendly. So you don't get stuck in like, oh, I need some clunky VR headset. This is like, no, you can run around on your phone.
Go in your browser.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's really accessible. And yeah. Ash Connell.
Okay, that's the guy behind it. Cool. Maybe we'll have him. I don't know if you guys have talked to him on Beans, but maybe we can get him on the show.
Not yet.
Okay.
Definitely want to.
Unless he's elusive. Sometimes these guys are hard to pin
He's
down.
busy.
Yeah.
You don't hear from him, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's because he created this like
He's grinding.
world-changing thing. Okay. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully we can get Ash on the show at some point. Speaking of guests upcoming on the show, Shelly, we've got fan favorite Greg Magadini, of course, coming back on the show on Wednesday. So make sure that you tune in for that. I love having Greg on the show. Always has a really interesting view on markets, and of course is just spewing trade ideas, really good trade ideas, by the way, left and right. So looking forward to getting Greg's insights.
And speaking of guests,
Wednesday.
You're my guest on Beans this Friday.
Yeah, and I'll be on Beans on Friday. It's my first time. Looking forward to it. Switch it up a little bit. Awesome. Well, Shelly, thanks for coming on with me here today, talking a little bit about what we're seeing in the macro space, the belief again being that, or the view being that this rally should continue, given kind of what we're seeing elsewhere when we look at kind of macroeconomic backdrops and kind of price performance in other asset classes. But again, anything can happen. We'll get Greg's views on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. But we'll be back for the show Wednesday. I'll be back with Shelly on Friday. Thank you all for tuning in and joining us in the chat. Shout out to everybody. Again, Lone Sophos popping in late. Better late than never. What's up? Big Deal Donuts. Thank you guys. As always, we'll be back later this week. Until then, I'm Ryan.
Shelly.
Peace.